Speaking of WoW, I wanted to watch this clip. I haven't seen this before. It's an Accolonn clip, and I wanted to see if he's saying what I think he's saying about the game, because it's been a problem for quite a while.
Overall, as a WoW player, I know exactly what this fight would be about. The mechanics don't seem messy to me. It seems chaotic, and that is the fault of add-ons. That's it.
I feel like one of the biggest problems with WoW raids is the fact that effects obscure other effects. Like some of the difficulty, like if every single one of these was a flashing red circle like it is in Lost Ark or Final Fantasy, this fight would instantly become easier. Like it would instantly become easier if that was the case.
That is the fault of add-ons.
Right, so the second and third beam should be stationary because you're
I think you said 5 minutes,
you know
40 seconds.
Okay, let's see this.
Yeah.
Reclamation form.
Yeah, in 40. Just stay on that.
Yep.
Eternity Overdrive.
And try to stay in your quadrants, yeah? It's really important that we don't fucking know about.
Thanks,
Good luck to
man.
your first step if we all-
Dude, there's a lot of
Yeah,
shit
you're
going
right.
on here.
That's cool.
What
That's
am
a
I
lot.
supposed to look at here, Andy? Because you say there's a lot of spoilers
Yeah, that's a
here,
lot.
but am I looking at
God
the
damn.
mechanics? The name of the mechanics? What exactly am I looking at?
Watch the orbs that go
I do
through
love the
beams.
visuals.
They're the most dangerous.
This is a pretty complex fight for normal mode, man. Holy shit. God damn. Or sorry, it's probably heroic. Yeah, it's heroic. I see. It's got the skull there.
Circles rolling.
Oh, you're talking about how nuts the boss is. And this is on
Keep watching
heroic.
the orbs, boys. Keep watching the too close. Nice. Robert.
Yeah. That's the same mechanic I think Stone Legion Generals
This is
has.
a lot of mechanics.
Except you don't have
but
to
you
soak
see,
it.
I watched this. I watched this now, and all I can think is I prefer the difficulty in Final Fantasy. Because if this was a Final Fantasy boss, what you would get is a lot of personal mechanics. So, for example, these orbs will most likely be targeted at the 4 different DPS, maybe the 4, like maybe the 2 healers as well. The tanks will have their own shit that they're dealing with, because that's usually how it goes in Final Fantasy. Like the tanks don't even have the same the same mechanics as most of the fucking DPS. I prefer the more personal thing, whereas this seems like again one of those everyone has to fucking focus on the same shit, almost.
I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. I think that, like, I actually think this is kind of cool. The only thing that I don't like about it is the fact that it can be hard to see things. Like, for example, like if you look at like this ball right here, the effect overlaps make it harder to see that ball. It just does. Like, imagine if there was like like an oil trap or whatever from a survival hunter there at the same time. It would be very hard to see that. And like that's the fight itself, the idea of the fight is kind of cool. I think it's kind of cool. Like, this is cool. But like I feel like, number one, this is incredibly hard to do for like a casual player. Is heroic made for casual players? Not really. But it's like I do feel like they've made the raids harder and harder and harder over the years, and it's gotten to the point now where like I'm really curious to see what the clear rates for raids like this are going to be. Because my assumption is that the clear rates for these raids are going to be extremely low. It's kind of like, for example, what was your opinion of Tomb of Sargeras? Yeah, what was your opinion of Tomb of Sargeras? It was trash. A lot of people say that it was bad. I think that half of the reasons why people say that it was bad is because they got their opinion from a top 50 world raider that said that you had to soak a lot of mechanics in the raid, and because of that, it was bad. I don't think that's a very accurate representation of the raid. I think that looking at it from the viewpoint of a top 50 raider or a top 100, if you take the top 10,000 players in the game, their opinion of the raid should not be what dictates how the raid is designed. It just should not be like that. I don't want to see 8 different mechanics in a normal mode fight, because I don't think that it's healthy for the game. And I think that's evidenced by the fact that you have, a raid like, I don't know, like this. And a lot of people, probably the clear rates for these raids are going to be so incredibly low. This is not normal mode. Yeah, I'm not saying it is. Yeah, I know that. That's kind of what I'm saying. You died because of other people's failures? Yeah, sure. That definitely happens too. And I think that's really what the problem is. And I think really like take the mechanic argument completely out of here, right? I think the only thing I really like, this fight looks pretty cool, right? The only thing I really just don't like is it's hard to see what's going on because there's so many other effects on the screen. That is my main concern, and everything else really is secondary to that. But I do think that, like, overall, the fights in WoW have just gotten increasingly more complex, and in the process of getting more complex and more complex and more complex, what's ended up happening is that it's just alienated a lot of players because, like, a casual player can't keep up with this. Because look at this thing. It's got like this person has an add-on that literally tells them if they're standing in something. Like, a casual player might not even know that exists. And those are really the problems. Players have gotten better and better, except for specific type players that never move up. Players have gotten better and better, but I think that the design of the games, the design of the raids, has been catering to the players that have gotten a lot better and a lot better. I feel like the raids have outscaled the average player's skill, and I think this happened in Cataclysm. Because if you look at the Cataclysm raids and how much they required a player to know and do, it was astronomically higher than ICC, and it just got worse from there. And that's why a lot of people quit the game, because it was just too hard. You're tired of mechanics other players have to do that affect how you play in the raid. I'm not arguing his point. I'm not talking about that there are personal mechanics that are good or personal mechanics that are bad. I'm not talking about that at all. I'm talking about the visibility of the fight, and I'm also talking about how the fights have gotten increasingly more complex over the years, and I think that it has become a barrier to entry for casual players.
Keep an eye out for these orcs, guys. Melee and mobile classes, you're full on orc power.
And somebody said, like, this is another thing I wanted to mention. So people got better, like in Fortnite, keep up or play other games. What's the problem here, though? The problem is that I don't want to play other games. Like, I don't think that, like, isn't that bad in a way that, like, Fortnite has gotten so complex and the skill cap has gotten so high that it becomes very hard for a new player to get involved in it? I feel like that's a bad thing. Like, making the skill cap for the game really high is only good for people that need the skill cap in the game to be high to keep their ego. Like, it's not a good thing. And before some other three-head says, well, what about Elden Ring? I actually have a video I'm going to watch today about the Elden Ring difficulty. And the Elden Ring difficulty is it's optional. Like, it's completely optional. If you can beat... Like, who was it on Twitter that showed the video of themselves, like, fucking two-shotting Margit because they got, like, a +9 weapon or something like that? It's crazy. The skill cap in WoW is optional as well, dipshit. Well, the thing is, like, yeah, it's optional as well, but if you want to get good gear, it's not. That's what I'm saying, is, like, even on, like, normal and heroic mode. What I'm saying is that a guild and a group of people that were able to do normal and heroic easily 5 years ago are not able to do it as easily now. And I feel like, again... I don't want to have to try to prove this to people. I don't want to have to try to prove this to people, to, like, assert my point, to get people to see my viewpoint, etc. So all I'm going to do is say this. Let's wait until, 6 months after this raid was out, and let's see how many people cleared it. Let's look at the clear rates for a raid like this, and my assumption is that the clear rates for raids have gone down year after year after year. And I think that to a certain degree, that is fine. But it's not fine whenever the raid is still the centerpiece of the expansion and of the patch, and it becomes less and less accessible. That is not good. So we'll just wait for the numbers. Yeah, let's just wait for the numbers.
Especially if you're ranged to try to knock them back further. There's no reason not to.
It'll be lawless rally soon.
Is LFR not accessible? LFR is not a good player experience. Like, you can't give somebody a mode of the raid that takes literally no effort and no skill that you can get carried through and people can't even kick you out of most of the time and say, wow, this is... So now the other raids can be good. It's not a fulfilling experience for players. Doing LFR is not a fulfilling player experience. It's not about, like... See, I don't care about the game being hard or easy. That exists, in my opinion, independently of the game being good. The game being good, Animal Crossing is an easy game that's good. The Lion King on Super Nintendo is a hard game that's bad. The developers even apologized for it. The game is not defined by whether it is good or bad based off of if it is hard or not.
Rally.
Fuck you, so it's like they do it on purpose.
Good shit.
They literally did.
That's
The Lion King, they literally made it so hard so you had to rim it twice.
Close, baby. Easy.
Yeah, they literally
see,
did that.
I feel like it's just too much. I feel like it's too much raid reliance. So there's a very big reliance, and this is sort of every raid fight in WoW. There's such a reliance on everyone working together, and everyone must do the exact right thing at the exact right time. Otherwise, it's a wipe. And Andy, I agree with you. If you don't have a group that's on Discord, this does not look like the kind of fight you're doing. Like, look at how quickly things just fucking spiral out of control. Imagine if...
I can see that, yeah. In my opinion, I think that, like, Halandris is one of the harder fights in the raid. Is Halandris... Like, doing Halandris on week 1 on Heroic, should you be expected to have Discord and communication there? I would say probably, yeah. Probably, yeah, I would say so. Like, it's a very early part of the raid, etc. One thing you cannot argue about, because there's so many levels of skill that have different options. What game is good? For me, the harder the better. For more casual, surely that's not the way. I think there's a lot of people that think that they really want hard games, but if I guarantee you, if I watch them play a lot of the games, they wouldn't be able to cut it. I don't know if that's the case with you. I'm not saying that is, but I think there's a lot of people that talk about how they really want hard games, and these people's claim to fame was being good at raiding and Burning Crusade. Like, I just don't really take those opinions very seriously.
There's no one on Discord telling people what to do. It'll literally just be a wipe.
No, Quinn69 is unironically an incredible player. Like, he is unironically an insanely good video game player. And anybody who doesn't think that, just because you're comparing him to Lighty, the best PoE player in the world, no. No, Quinn is unironically an insanely good player.
Over and 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 over again. Because everyone is trying to, well, basically, everyone is trying to dodge everything that there is. They have to knock back these orbs. And this is what we talk about when we say that this entire game was designed to be played with these things in mind, with your DBM in mind.
Yes.
Look at that. Missiles. You have everything in this game is designed to be played around an add-on. And if you don't have that add-on, you're fucked. And then you also need someone on Discord to actually tell you when to do what, because there's so much going on that you can't focus on everything, plus then also focus on the stuff that you should be doing. Like we said before, it's that add-ons have made fights like this a thing. You need fights this complex and this sort of clusterfucky, because without these clusterfucks of mechanics, the fights would be stupidly easy. Like, you would be able to walk...
They would either be stupidly easy or they would be numerically overtuned. Like, that's really what would happen. So, yeah, it's like, in my opinion, I think the best thing that WoW can do, like Blizzard can do for WoW right now, is disable all combat add-ons and raids. Disable weak auras, disable big wigs, disable DBM. Literally make it to where they don't work. They did it with AVR back in ICC. They can do it with these ones too. Yes, remove these add-ons completely. And I think also another thing that they could do, I don't know if this would be a good idea or not. I'm going to be completely honest. I don't know if it would be a good idea or not. I wish they had more classes that had lower effective DPS, but better support roles. Because I think what that would do is it would change the culture. It would change parsing culture to where every single class didn't have to be perfectly balanced. It's like, for example, I would rather have a Warlock that is 20 item levels lower than anybody else in my raid than have somebody else that does twice as much damage, because Warlocks just offer so much utility to a raid, both in fights and out of fights. I think that Burning Crusade was incredibly well designed in this way. Like, many classes, like an Arms Warrior, is not going to do as much damage as a Warlock. But a Warlock isn't going to offer as much utility to the raid as an Arms Warrior will. A Rep Paladin, yeah, exactly. And like Shadow Priest, Mana Battery, Shadow Priest, yeah, you have a lot of other roles like that. I actually think that Blizzard can do a much better job designing classes. I think the reason why they don't do that is pretty simple, actually. It's because they have so many different ways that classes are balanced across, right? You have like Blizzard basically balances the game across 3 main things: 3v3 arena, rating, and Mythic Plus. So classes can be completely fucking broken in something that's not one of those 3 things, and it doesn't really matter. That's why you had Blood DKs that were able to solo 5 people in World PvP. It's because Blizzard never cared about it. But in terms of rating and everything like that, they were relatively well balanced. So what I wish they would do is they would just find another way to balance the game independently with those different features. Because I think that trying to, like, and you see this a lot with like Lost Ark, you see this with Final Fantasy, etc., is like many MMOs have separate ways that you play PvP. And it's not just like you take your character with the same abilities and you just PvP. Disable combat add-ons is a terrible idea. What Blizzard do is make crucial add-ons part of the game to make an equal field for everyone. No, I think that I think that having an add-on tell you that you're standing underneath something is an immersion-breaking experience and a worse experience for an average player than just having more legible mechanics that are easier to understand intuitively that you can then just play through and learn by experiencing. That's what I would prefer to have. I think that is a better player experience.
Over these
fights.
fights.
The train fight in Blackrock Foundry, which to be fair is actually not a good example because remember, like, we all had the add-on that would tell us where the trains were going to be. But other than that, yeah, I do think the train boss on Thogar was extremely well designed.
If it wasn't such a clusterfuck. So you're effectively constantly fighting the mechanics to stay alive because the mechanics want to kill you. That's literally all they want to do is kill you, and they go above and beyond trying to kill you. As a player, this fight has no visual clarity for me. To be fair, Marcon, just to be fair, as a WoW player, when I first saw Final Fantasy raids, your stuff didn't make sense to me either.
I thought it was weird and like immersion breaking for the red circles, everything to just be a red circle. And I still think to a degree like the WoW design is maybe less immersion breaking, but it's just worse to play. And I think that the playability of a game is the pinnacle of priority. That is the pinnacle priority. If something is bad to play, nothing else matters. I don't care about lore. I don't care about continuity. I don't care about balance. I don't care about anything. If it's bad to play, it needs to be fixed.
Straightforward, very honest. When I saw the stuff that you guys have in Final Fantasy, I was like, this does not... What the fuck is this? Yeah. None of this makes sense. What is supposed to be what here? Now that I've played Final Fantasy for a while,
I've seen that.
I'm sort of like, oh, okay, I know now. You know, when you have a giant circle with some arrows pointing in, everyone's stuck. When you get this weird little thing on your head that's sort of red.
What I've seen in Final Fantasy, and this is just what I've seen, is that in the harder content, the red circles still persist, but they flash almost. It's like, whereas like in normal or whatever, this is what happened with Quinn. Because if you watch that clip where he charges in and he gets killed, the red circle is there, but it's only there for like a fraction of a second. So like you can't reactively move out of the red circles. They just exist there to show you where like the range of it is. That's what I've seen before. Where's the eels? Yeah, there you go. I don't know about the other fights though. That's just what I've seen before.
And you don't want to be in it. So you sort of, those are things that I think you learn a little bit as time goes on. For me, as an ex-WoW player, I know exactly what all of this stuff does. So I would probably be able to sit foot in this raid, and I would know at least what to dodge, what not to dodge, what to do and what not to do. So usually, I'll say this. Usually, when you have orbs moving from the outside of the room inside to the boss, those will either have to be soaked, knocked back. So if they're targeted, if you can target them, it means you have to do DPS to them in order to knock them back or slow them down or destroy them before they touch the boss. So those orbs are sort of bog standard. There's a lot of bosses that have them. Any whirly on the floor ever means don't fucking be in it. With a small exception of sometimes there are whirlies that have to be soaked. But yeah.
Well, the whirly boys that need to be soaked, oftentimes, like, Blizzard actually does have a relatively good, like, kind of a framework for allowing players, if you understand the game well if you see a mechanic that's like a circle and it's not a swirly, it's like a thing that's like coming out of the middle, that is like every time a soak mechanic. And a lot of these swirlies are move out of this. But if it's just a circle with a thing in the middle, kind of like that, then this is a soak mechanic. And that is good. That is good intuitive design.
WoW player, I know exactly what this fight would be about. The mechanics don't seem messy to me. It seems
yes,
chaotic.
animation consistency, exactly.
That is the fault of add-ons. That's it. That is the fault of add-ons. Oh yeah, the eye in Final Fantasy as well means don't look. I still get caught by that one, by the way.
That's always one that I've done right, but I've messed up a bunch of other ones too. Yeah, and like also the eye about like turning around, etc. That happens like so early on too. Like you have those, I think, in dungeons, I'm pretty sure. What's the first time that you see the eye? I know it's the Medusa boss in Coils. The first time you see the eye, Bukaki Manor. It's the last boss, right? And you have to turn around. Is that it? Like, I'm not sure. World in Darkness? Well, that's the first time you see Doom, isn't it? I think that's the other one. I don't know. I'd have to really think back on it and figure it out. Like, no, it's not. I thought it was. This is the first time I experienced Doom. Crystal Tower. I thought that was the last part of Crystal Tower or something. It was the last part of the quest line. The manor around there. That's what I thought. Like, I knew that it was in a dungeon, but I didn't know which one. I thought it was like one of those succubus NPCs. But either way, I think that like this is insightful. And again, I feel like there's a Doom and ARR dungeon. Really? I guess the first time I dealt with it was in that. Yeah, this is Accolonn. I've watched a lot of Accolonn's videos before. I think they're quite good. They're insightful. I think he expresses himself pretty well. And I also think that just overall, the complexity of the fights has gotten to be overwhelming for an average player. And I wish Blizzard would rein that in by making combat add-ons not required.